Welcome to C-Suite Sherpas, where we shine a spotlight on business experts and resources that you should know. I'm your host, Ron Partridge, and I'm excited today to have Dr. Maryann Rivera Dannert, founder of MRD Empowerment Solutions.
Thank you so much for having me here.
All right, we're excited to get into this. Maryann is a certified life and leadership coach, a podcaster, editor-in-chief, speaker, and author. So she has been very busy and very well accomplished. So let's start by saying, can you give us a snapshot of what your business is and kind of the major outcomes you get for your clients?
Yes, definitely. So once again, thank you so much for having me here. MRD Empowerment Solutions is all about working with women for the woman who is ready to heal and turn her fear into fuel for success. So I work with women who are stuck, who feel unfulfilled, who has allowed priorities, whether it's taking care of families, whether it's working, whether it's taking care of children, running a business, doing all of those things but has not been taking care of herself. She is a giver. She is passionate about taking care of other people. And life has just been lifing. And she looks in the mirror one day, does not recognize who she is. And she knows that there's more out there. She is ready for more, but not sure where to start. And that's what I'm here for. So I help women reignite the fire and start living life on their terms.
That's great. So can you give an example of somebody that you've helped and kind of where they were in their situation and where they ended up and how positive of an impact did you have on that person without naming names, by the way?
Oh no, yes, definitely. So actually, I love using the same story because it was earlier on when I started my podcast. I have this individual that I was working with because I do have a regular 9 to 5, but in a previous job. And she told me that she loves listening to podcasts. So I told her about my podcast. She subscribed and she was listening to it. She was an older woman. She was probably in her 60s. She says to me about a month or two after listening to the podcast, I want to share something with you that I've never told anyone. And I was like, what is that? She was like, as you can see, I am a lot older. I don't have a driver's license, but I've always had a desire to be a school bus driver. And I was like, school bus driver, tell me a little bit more about why a school bus driver. She was like, because the freedom. She was like, you only work a couple hours in the morning, couple hours in the afternoon. You have summers off, all the school vacations, and you're giving back because you're helping taking care of little kids. And I said, okay, so why are you telling me this? And she says, because I have been listening to your podcast, and there was a woman who spoke about these deep desires and passions that she has had and she went for it one day. I said, okay, so what are you going to do? She said, I actually signed up at the local driving school. And this was in Orlando, Florida, when I lived in Florida. She started taking driver's lessons. And about 2 months later, she came back and she said, I have good news and bad news. I said, okay, tell me the bad news first. She said, I'm handing in my resignation. My background is also human resources. And I said, why are you handing in your resignation? She said, because the good news is I got an interview and I was hired to be a part-time bus driver. And that's what my podcast is all about, is helping women reignite that fire and come to terms with those passions and those dreams that once upon a time they had, but because of life, limiting beliefs, self-doubt, lack of confidence, they've been buried and we help dig those back out.
That is a great story. It really is finding what your heart wants to do and really following that. So, how do you help women find what is their desire? What is their passion?
One of my favorite ways, and this is actually an exercise that I have my clients do, is to write out what their perfect day is. So
Yeah.
imagine money's not an issue, time is not an issue. You can wake up wherever you are with whoever you are. You could be by yourself, but from the moment that you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, what are you doing? Where are you? Who are you with? What do you smell? What do you see? What do you taste? What do you feel? And then we figure out where you currently are and we focus on those gaps. And we talk about when you were 5 years old, when you were 15 years old, when you were 25 years old, what did you hope to one day in the future be? What did you aspire to do? Was there something that people always congratulated you on or said, oh, you're really good at, and things like that? And we start to talk about those things. If money's no object, you close your eyes, you wake up one day and you're living your best life. What are you doing? And then we start tackling those things down.
I bet it really makes them reflect kind of deeply about, well, what is it that I really want? Do you find that that's the case a lot of times?
Yes. Yes, often actually, because things become a priority and they're so focused on what they're currently doing, whether it's taking care of children. And we're also in a generation that individuals are taking care of children and their parents. And again, they have just let themselves go, not because they have stopped dreaming, but because everyone else has become a priority. So we talk about, okay, what about this option? What about that option? Do you think that you are a people person? Do you like being told what to do, or do you want to be the one to make the decisions? So we start tackling that. And we also do some assessments like Myers-Briggs, the DISC system to figure out what really ignites somebody. And we just start having ways of, dabble a little bit here, volunteer here. I also talk a lot about volunteering because that's a way to test out the waters. And if it's not for you, at least you haven't invested too much time. And if it's for you, then we start again, just continuing to peel the layers of that onion to just really get down and clear as to what it is that you want to do.
So, do you use DISC, the personality test, in your engagements?
I actually used to, and I'm also in the process of starting it up again. I was certified DISC and Myers-Briggs. I kind of let it lapse, but I do have the resources to be able to do it. Yes.
Yeah, and do you find that sheds light on some areas that they'd never thought about, or maybe some characteristics of their personality they weren't aware of?
Sometimes, and sometimes they're actually because again, the self-doubt, the limiting beliefs, the lack of self-confidence, they're like, oh, you know what? I remember I used to be told that I was really good at dancing or singing, but then I started hearing these voices like, no, you're not, and things like that. And so because the programming, when it comes to limiting beliefs and lack of self-confidence, is because it has just been told over you so many times, over and over again, that if you don't have that positive reinforcement, the negative thoughts are going to overwhelm and take over. So it's just reprogramming your mindset. So individuals end up falling in love with whether it's dancing, singing, working with computers, working with people, working with children, or their creative side.
Do you find that their identity is being a mom, right? And they really have this desire to go and do something else, right? Dance, for example.
Yeah.
How do you help them make that trip, but then understand I can actually do both? I don't have to just be pigeonholed into one thing.
Right. So it's like, well, number one, what is it about dancing that excites you? And what kind of dancing? And then it's like, okay, well, let's explore that a little bit. And then I give them homework assignment because I'm the type of coach that we're not just going to be talking all the time. Knowledge is power when followed by action. You can get all the knowledge in the world, but if you're not doing anything, nothing's going to change. So we talk about, okay, look up this in video or the song, and it's all about hip hop, or it could be salsa, or it could be country line dancing and things like that. So what is it that excites you about it? And sometimes it could just be that it's a relief for them. It's a form of healing and just letting go. So it's like, okay, just focus on doing 10 minutes a day, nothing more, nothing less, 10 minutes a day, and slowly over time. And depending on how old the children are, you can join dancing clubs and things like that. Because if the children are school age and it's a stay-at-home mom, for example, you have those hours between 9 and 2 or 3 o'clock for yourself. So
Yeah.
use that time, just 45 minutes to an hour. Just go out and meet people and things like that.
That's great. That's good advice because I think you need that balance in your life. Everybody does, especially
Right.
moms
Yeah.
who can get so involved in running the family.
Yes, definitely. And within, again, because everything else has become a priority, my actual tagline is you are a priority and you matter. It's like the example of an airplane. God forbid the airplane goes down. What is the first thing that the flight attendants tell you? put on your oxygen mask first. If you're too busy taking care of little Susie or Tommy, you're going to pass out because you are not getting any oxygen. So take care of yourself. And self-care doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It doesn't have to be spending hours at the spa, although that is fantastic. It can be just getting up 5, 10 minutes early and sitting in the quiet with a candle or a cup of tea. Just finding out what works for you and fitting that into your daily routine so you can start taking care of you. Because when you take care of yourself, when you are good mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, socially, you are more equipped, energized, and clear headed to take care of other people.
And I bet that applies exponentially to women in the workforce where it's either taking care of the family or working in their business. So let's say managing people. They need to have that time to take care of themselves. Do you find that's an issue that you can help them deal with as well?
Yes, definitely. Because again, especially for entrepreneurs, and like I mentioned earlier, in addition to being my own business owner and being an entrepreneur, I also have a 9 to 5 job as the chief operating officer for a local nonprofit organization. So it's helping run the organization, managing employees, all the employee issues. Then there's home life and my business life. It's really not a balance because when we think of a balance, we kind of think of 50-50. It's just finding that flow and rhythm that works for you. For me, I am very in tune with my body. So if my body says at 6 o'clock, we're tired and we're going to bed, I look at my husband and he just nods and smiles. You're going to bed, aren't you? Yes, I am. And I will go to bed at 6 p.m. and easily wake up at 6 a.m. 12 hours of solid sleep. Again, that's what works for me. With my podcast, I only record on one certain day. And sometimes people are like, oh, do you have any other openings? I'm sorry, I don't. Maybe you can look into the future, see if, one of the future appointments work for you. But this is what works for me. And this is the only day that I record. So it's just being sure what your values are and sticking to your boundaries.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's so important. And I think that goes back to making sure you're stable and in a position to help others. I
Yes.
think that's so important. So it's great advice.
Thank you.
I'm going to change it up a little bit here, and we're going to do a lightning round where
Okay.
the viewers will get to know you a little bit more personally, not too personally, but a little bit personally. So I'm just going to ask you quick questions and you just shoot me the first answer that comes to mind. Ready to
All
go?
right. I'm ready.
All right. Coffee or tea?
Oh, I can't choose both. If I have to pick one, I will have to say coffee.
Yeah, I go back and forth all day. Cats or dogs?
Neither.
You,
Sorry, folks. I'm not a pet person.
you'd be amazed at how many people actually say that, more than you think, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Favorite quote or phrase that you think about often?
You are a priority and you matter.
Mm, nice. That's very good. Favorite movie or streaming series?
Movie Eat, Pray, Love, the story of Elizabeth Gilbert.
Oh, that's good. Favorite book?
Eat, Pray, Love.
All right, two-part question.
Okay.
One bucket list item that you've already accomplished, and one bucket list item that you have not yet accomplished.
So, bucket list item that I have accomplished, and I was actually kind of sad about it. I went to Bali last January 2024
Hmm.
and actually stayed in the same village in the same area that Elizabeth Gilbert went when she did her 3 country venture. And the day before I left, I asked our tour guide about Elizabeth Gilbert, and he was like, you should have told me because we've passed where she stayed so many times. And I was like, no. So definitely have to get back to Bali so I can check that out. And bucket list item, I would have to say, as far as traveling, going to Tahiti. Tahiti is like my one place that when I go there, if I don't travel again, I will be satisfied.
Make sure you stay in an over-the-water bungalow.
Yes, that is definitely a must.
That's a requirement. Yeah.
Yes.
Is there anything you could tell the viewers right now? What would it be?
I would have to say that you matter, your goals matter, and it does not matter what has happened in the past. We all have a past. We all have decisions that we're not keenly happy about, but you are still breathing. And if you are still breathing, you can still become that man or woman that your higher power made you to be.
That's beautiful. So you're not defined by your past is
So,
very, very good. All
yes.
right. Last question, I promise. This one's an important one. If
Yes.
any of our viewers would like to collaborate with you and work with you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
My website, MaryannRiveraDannert.com. So it's Maryann Rivera. There's no hyphen between the Rivera and the Dannert for the website.com. And everything is there. My podcast, magazine, books, coaching, and much more.
It's spelled Dannert, Dannert, correct?
Correct. Yes.
All right, Maryann, it was great to have you. It was very interesting. I think you're doing really good, much needed work and probably having a very positive impact on people's lives. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
that.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.